This episode is brought to you by members of the You Run Podcast Network. Dewey Pod Monster, Movies 4 Days, Pop Culture Reflections, Voices from the Mausoleum, You Gonna Eat That Crust, Video Tasties, The Ghoulish Gallery, The Girl and the Gay Podcast, The Horror Friendly Podcast, and The Aardvark and the Magic Moshi Do Red Dwarf. All available at yourunpodcast.com. So, I watch zombie movies to prepare for future events, no matter how unlikely they may be. When you think of it, it's kind of the same way you use porn.
Yeah, they're very unlikely scenarios.
Hey everyone, the You Run Podcast. The You Run Podcast.
You want to die tonight?
Scott, I think you know who the fuck this is that's talking.
Cancel Mark. I was terribly offended.
Because after all, this is not our show, this is your show.
Hello and welcome to the Brain Dead division of the You Run Podcast Network. My name is Scott.
My name is Mark.
And we are the host of Horror Movie Review, an interactive and entertaining podcast where you get to pick the movies. It's as simple as that. We release episodes every Monday. They contain a review, facts, a game, jokes, a whole host of interactive features that will become very apparent as we go through. To use your voice, you need to follow us on social media. We're at You Run Podcast on every single one of them. If you want to give my buddy who's suffering with man flu a follow, you can do that. Man down. You can do that. He is Reviews from the Crypt and VHS from the Crypt on Instagram. And you just celebrated 3,000 followers on VHS from the Crypt, which is rapid pace of growth.
Rapid pace of growth. I can't actually believe it, to be honest with you. I've been slogging away on the review page for the best part of 3 years now, and I've only just surpassed 2,000 on that. And that takes a lot more work than the VHS page. So yeah, it's growing exponentially, and I'm really pleased everybody's enjoying the content and getting involved and sharing it and liking it. And yeah, I really appreciate everybody who supports it. It's fantastic to reach 3K as quickly as I have. I don't think I've been doing it a year yet, that page.
No, I like that page because it's one that I'll click on there. And I think you do it just to annoy me, but like you'll do pictures of different stacks of videos, different stacks of VHS. And it's like every other stack you stick in a movie that will piss me off. And I know you're like the greatest horror comedies ever, Idle Hands.
Idle Hands at the top.
Every single time. And it's
best creature features of all time. Deep Blue Sea at the top.
Exactly that. But congratulations. I really like that account. Everyone needs to go and follow that. So that's VHS from the Crypt, and follow Reviews from the Crypt as well, because Mark's reviews are top tier. You can also send us an email, yourunpodcast@gmail.com. You can also send us an audio DM on social media, wherever that function is available. And I have the definitive list of all of them. I actually went through and thought, you know what? I'll actually look where you can do it. So I can tell you, you can send us an audio DM on X, formerly Twitter, and Instagram. And that's it.
I thought you could do it on Spotify now.
You can do it through Spotify. There is a link in our episodes, but you need a Spotify account to do that. Which, yeah, if you've got a Spotify account, that works. If you haven't, then hey, you can't do that.
We have that's the same with Instagram and X. So if you don't have an Instagram account or an X account, then you can't do that.
Are you going to be like this all episode? Are you going to split hairs?
Yeah, I'm down in the blues, man, and I feel like I'm feeling like a moaning episode is coming your way this evening.
Okay. Well, we have a message, and again, I haven't put it into the episode, and I'm really, really sorry.
In response to,
so I keep forgetting to do it, but how do I rewind that? Bear with. Welcome to the professional podcast that is the You Run Podcast. I'm just waiting for the message to play through so I can play it again. How's your week been?
All right, like you say, I am dying. I'm getting zero sympathy from my wife regarding this severe illness that has taken me down so rapidly. I think I'll pull through, but
okay,
just know that I appreciate you all if I don't.
Well, here is the message we got anyway.
In response to Nerdy Dad 424242, there was absolutely nothing confused about this boner.
So this was on the Species episode. Nerdy Dad's 3-word review was
Yes.
a lot of confused boners. And Eric, there was no confused bonus from Eric. He was quite comfortable with his boner that he received from the alien.
Well, fair play to you, Eric. You be proud of yourself.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm proud of any boner I get. I'm at the age I'm at now. When it happens, it's like, oh, it works.
Are you using the blue pills yet, my friend?
Not yet. I don't think they're far away though. It's on the horizon. Blue pills and hair plugs is my future. Today is 70s week.
The 70s vibes this is giving me, bro.
Anyone who's listened back to our back catalogue will know that whenever we feature a 70s movie, it has never had a bad review. Jaws got perfect scores. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, perfect scores again. Halloween, perfect scores across the board. The Exorcist, perfect scores. Anyone who's also a regular listener will know I am not a fan of zombie movies. I think they're dull, they're the same, and I have little to no enjoyment with any of them, which is going to make today's episode a very interesting little adventure for us to go on.
I can't believe this is where we're going to go with this. I really can't.
Yeah. We're off to 1978 to talk about a horror movie that appears in pretty much every single top 10 list ever made. Following the story of some people whose goal is to steal a helicopter from a local shopping centre and escape a zombie apocalypse, the movie is a commentary on consumerism and the behaviour of people in a crisis. With some of the most wonderful practical effects works and makeup works of the time, it set itself above the rest by simply being better. As for how was it directed? Well, it was directed by the master of horror, George A. Romero, arguably the father of zombie movies. I know you all know where we're going, but it's time for Dawn of the Dead.
In 1968, George Romero brought us Night of the Living Dead. It became the classic horror film of its time.
Not that room! Not that room!
Now, George Romero brings us the most intensely shocking motion picture experience for all times.
It gets up and kills. The people it kills get up and kill. This situation must be controlled before it's too late. They are multiplying too rapidly.
Dawn of the Dead.
Meet me on the roof at 9 o'clock. Getting out.
I don't believe
We're
it.
gonna
What?
get out in the chopper. We've got to survive. Somebody's got to survive.
They kill for one reason. They kill for food. They eat their victims.
Imagine, if you will, that something has gone terribly wrong.
Shoot it, man.
Now, accept the fact that there's no escaping the horrible consequences. George Romero brings back the dead. Night of the Living Dead has ended. Dawn of the Dead is here.
We must not be lulled by the concept that these are our family members or our friends. They are not. They will not respond to such emotions.
Operator dead. Post abandoned. We may never get out of the room. It's everywhere. What the hell is it?
Looks like a shopping center, one of those big indoor malls.
What are they doing? Why do they come here?
Some kind of instinct, memory, what they used to do. This was an important place in their lives.
What is it?
We've got a war.
I'm afraid.
We have spawned our own savagery. Soon, it will consume us all. It is a horrible, hauntingly accurate vision of the mindless excesses of a society gone mad.
They must be destroyed on sight.
When there is no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
We are down to the line, folks. We are down to the line.
Dawn of the Dead.
Jesus Christ, that doesn't hold back, does it? Poor Roger.
No.
giving away his full entire plot.
It gives away, like, honestly, if you watch the trailer, you've got the entire cliff notes of the movie in order.
I can't believe they've just shown that about Roger in the trailer. That is insane.
Yeah. Mental. And it's a really long trailer as well.
Really long.
Like
but the movie's extremely long.
The movie is, and let's talk about it now because trying to talk about it later is going to be complicated. There are numerous cuts of this. I watched the Argento zombie cut.
Yes.
What other cuts are there? Because I know this is your wheelhouse.
Yeah, there's 3 different cuts of this movie. There's the Cannes Film Festival cut, which is 139 minutes long. That really is a cut where the film wasn't quite completed, but they wanted to get it into the festival circuit. So they kind of just basically, not an entirely completely edited down version, just got shipped out and played around Cannes Film Festival. So that's an hour, that's 139 minutes long. Really, really good cut. It takes a lot more of a deeper dive into the personal relationships between the core characters, fleshes out their story a lot more. Then you've got the theatrical cut, which is George Romero's sort of his definitive cut. That's his version that he prefers, which is 127 minutes long. It's a bit tighter. The music's a little bit more edited together in a better way. And it cuts down a little bit of the bloat. But then you've got the Argento cut, which is 119 minutes long, which is entirely scored by Goblin, which is fucking fantastic. And that is much more action and horror-centric as opposed to the other 2 cuts. He trims down pretty much 80% of the fat in that movie and makes it much more faster paced.
The Argento cut is the faster paced, more exciting version.
Definitely. If I was to recommend a cut to you guys to watch, my initial one would be to go and watch the Cannes Film Festival one. It's an extremely long version, but it gives you everything you need to know about this movie in its entirety. If you're going back for rewatches on this film, if you've already seen it before, then the Argento cut for me is personally the best. I think it's the sound score to it from Goblin's fantastic. It's a lot choppier, a lot quicker. It cuts out quite a few key moments as well. One of them, which I will get to because you won't have seen it watching the Argento cut this time around. But yeah, I think the Argento cut for me personally is my favorite and the one that I probably would go to more often than not if I was on rewatches. Okay. But if you've never seen this film before, definitely check out the Cannes Film Festival version because it's fantastic. It's really, really good, especially if you're more invested in the character development and the story building than you are the zombie side of this movie.
Right, okay.
This is the most boringest episode ever. You guys are nerds.
Listeners score the movies here. Listeners have scored this a 4 out of 5. Letterboxd coming at a 4 out of 5. And Gladys really surprised me. Gladys has given her first perfect score, a 5 out of 5, adding a comment, this is the definitive zombie movie.
I would agree with that. I think that's a fairly solid comment to make. I don't know if I necessarily agree with the score, but we'll get there later.
Yeah. This is a spoiler-heavy show. We will give away plot points, spoilers, everything. We have the best spoiler warning in the all of podcasting anywhere in the world.
Okay, I'm going to explain this shit to you like you're 5. Get your eyes checked. Read the damn episode title. I don't want to hear any bitching, any complaining about how, oh, there's spoilers. No, read it. If you've not seen it, do not listen.
Thanks, Heather. It's so clean cut, isn't it? It's like, don't be a dick. Read the title. If you've not seen it, don't listen. And if you do listen, don't moan. It's great.
Yeah, it gets straight to the point.
Yeah. I'm going to start this off with a pre-warning. Me and Mark have very different takeaways from this movie. There will be healthy debate on this episode, but me and Mark respect each other's opinions. And yeah, that's where it ends. We may argue on this, but just know that when we finish arguing on this, as soon as the mics are off, it'll be like, you're a dick, and that'll be the end of it.
I don't think we will. I don't think we will argue too much. 1, because I'm a poly man, and 2, because I think what you're probably going to say in some way will be justified, and I get it, and I'll probably understand most of the stuff you're saying, but I think for me, I just love this movie, man.
Yeah. We kick off in a newsroom, and this is the most 70s fluffy-walled newsroom in the history of the 70s. It's
shag carpet all over the walls.
Yeah, it's one step away from get him to the Greek, stroke the fairy wall, stroke the fairy wall. These opening segments are incredibly chaotic. So you've got a newsroom and they're trying to report the news of some sort of an outbreak. You have a chat show host arguing with, I think he's a government expert or a doctor.
He's a
And
doctor.
yeah, and the doctor's saying that you need to basically, like, you need to kill them by shooting them in the head or removing their brain from the body. And
there's reports coming in of everybody like keeping their loved ones locked up and not executing them. Basically, it's like they will feed, they will bite, and when they bite, they will produce more, and then they will produce more, and this will never end unless we kill them.
Yeah. And
did you catch the Romero cameo?
Yes, I did. As the he was the guy in the newsroom with his. Did you see the woman next to him was his wife?
Oh, is it really? I didn't know.
Yeah.
I know it was Romero, but I didn't know it was his wife next to him.
Yeah, it was his wife there as well. So yeah, they're both in the newsroom shouting and cigarette in the hand and going, "Oh, do this, do that." Yes,
yeah.
All of this is happening while the opening credits are running, and I don't know if it's the same in every cut of this, but in the Argento cut, the score behind it for me is too loud. It's like I can't hear exactly what's going on. All I've got is this wow, 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 wow noise over the background. And I kind of knew what was going on, but I couldn't hear what everyone was saying clear enough to fully understand the scale of where things were. And that irritated me a little bit.
Yeah, you see, I've watched all three of them this week, actually, in run up to this episode. And for some reason or another, I can't remember how chaotic it is in the other two cuts. This, obviously, the Argento cut is Goblin all the way through. So, like, that is a very synonymous sound with Goblin. They're very much like that, especially in the 70s with, like, demons and things like that. That's their sound. But in the other two versions, it's all scored by Romero, but he uses a lot of stock library music, which is free to hand, like the same way you do on any form of AI computer these days. You can just take stock music. That's the kind of stuff he used to score, and it is very bland and very dull. And I think one thing you do notice when you watch the other version of this in comparison to the Argento cut is how important a score is and editing can be when you watch the two side by side. In fact, I don't think there is any score over the opening in both the theatrical and the Cannes Film Festival version.
Yeah, I think I may have preferred that, not for the whole movie, but definitely for this opening scene. Confession time. This is where I abandoned this movie 5 times this week. I got to the end of this scene and I was like, fuck this movie, and turned it off. And I'd done that 5 days. I watched this today and I finished it about 40 minutes ago.
The thing is, as well, like in the other two cuts, I think that opening scene's about 3 minutes longer.
Is it really?
Yeah. Like you actually get the dialogue between the news reporter and the doctor. It's like focused back and forth like an actual chat show.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I watched the wrong cut. While all this chaos is happening, a guy called Stephen arrives in his 1970s bomber jacket, and he gets into the station. He goes in, he talks to one of the female producers, and I can never remember her name.
The lady who's the actual character all the way through.
Yeah.
Linda, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. Linda, Dawn, something like that.
I think it's Linda. I can't believe I've got this wrong already. It'll come to me all of a sudden and I'll be like, idiots. But I think it's Linda.
Well, he talks to that lady and he says, be on the roof by 9 p.m. And she's like, well, we're still doing stuff here. He's like, don't make me tell you twice. I was like, this is the most not racist, sexist 70s I've ever heard. Don't make me tell you twice. It's like, fuck you, man.
Yeah, this aerial weatherman is a dick all the way through this movie.
Yeah, he is. And all they wanted to do...
Get to the chopper!
Yeah, no, we're not doing chopper count today.
They want to get to the chopper. We got to a SWAT team abseiling down a building, and they've surrounded the building, and there are criminals inside. The language and the racial slurs in this segment are awful.
Yeah.
Another reason why I didn't get further. I think this was like my 3rd or 4th watch. I got to hear, and they fire out like 7 or 8 racial slurs back to back, and I was like, "This adds nothing." Fuck it, and I turned it off again.
I mean, in a way, they're kind of setting up that Martinez, the guy who is the one making the racial comments, is an absolute arsehole. And they do a fantastic job of doing that because immediately, as soon as he opens his mouth, you're like, I hope this dude dies.
Yeah.
And it also plays in contrast with Roger. You can see Roger's concern by his use of language and the way that he's talking. And not only that, the actions that follow immediately after. So it does do a good job of kind of introducing you to Roger as a person and the level of respect and stuff like that that he has.
Yeah, I quite like Roger. I think Roger's a great
fantastic.
character.
But yeah, Martinez is an absolute dick. And they use blackface in the opening segment here, which is just wild to me. The fact that they couldn't find a Filipino actor in the 70s to do this is just mind-blowing. So, yeah, poor choice, Romero, to go ahead and do what you did there.
They breach the building and a gunfight ensues with the criminal occupants. And there is lots of practical effects on show here. Lots. This sort of segment as they come in, like someone gets shot and you see it go through their shoulder and there's like explosions both sides of their arms. Like, and they looked great in 1978. They've dated now. Like I can see it's very fake now, but I can appreciate how much work went into it.
Yeah. I mean, this is Savini again. Savini did the practical effects work for this. And the thing that I want to kind of give Savini credit for here is because this is his second time working with Romero. The film prior to this was Martin, which isn't a really effects-heavy movie. So, and this is all prior to his work on stuff like Friday the 13th, The Burning, all the rest of it. So he hasn't necessarily mastered his craft at this point. But you can see those elements of what's to come from him from this movie.
Oh, 100%.
And me being the practical effects guy that I am, I'm not going to stand out on the limb and say, yeah, the practical effects of this movie are amazing. Because they're not. They're not. They are very dated, like you say. And I don't actually necessarily know how great they would have been back in the late 70s. I think the thing about them is they are just so shocking and visceral that it would have clouded people's minds how good they were necessarily just based on the fact that how shocking the content actually is for the 70s.
Yeah. We see the SWAT team clearing the building and we get a really cool head explosion. This looked great. I love this. This made me smile. It's like, oh, his head went boom. I was
completely
really like,
boom.
I'll be honest, in this scene, I'm not entirely sure what's going on. There's bits where they're shooting civilians, there's bits where they're dragging civilians out, and it's kind of like, what are you actually trying to do? Are you just getting the baddies? Because you're shooting innocent people now. It's very unclear.
It is very unclear. And the reason why I find it so unclear is because you have the shootout with the Filipino characters at the beginning, which is why they're kind of there. That's the whole purpose of them being there.
Yeah.
But then in the next instance, they're tackling the residents of the building for harboring the undead within the property.
Yeah.
So it's like, give up your dead so we can sort of kill them kind of thing. And then they're going door to door and checking apartments and flat buildings to find the dead. And then Martinez just loses his mind and just starts shooting on everybody and killing civilians, as you say, people left, right, and center. To which point Roger steps in and has to intervene here and tries to take him down and be like, what the hell are you doing? And this is where we're introduced to man of the moment, Mr. Ken Foray. Peter comes in and just blasts Martinez down.
We also see our first zombie here. He later went on to have a successful music career in Vegas, heading up the Blue Man Group. Why are they blue?
Yeah, they're very ash washed.
No, they're not ash washed. They are blue. They are blue as Blue Man Group blue can be.
Yeah, they are blue. And I don't necessarily know the answer to this. I know George Romero really didn't give a shit in terms of what they actually look like. He said just make them look dead. And that was all the sort of cues he had to give to the makeup department. And Savini, for that matter, because obviously he was the one who did the makeup effects. I don't know why the blue. My only reasoning would be is that when you die, you kind of go numb blue colors, and maybe that's what they had in their head. I imagine this is probably something that they did within Night of the Living Dead.
No,
in
there
black
is a
and white,
reason.
and then transferred it over. I don't know.
Yeah, no, there is a reason, and I was curious if you knew it, which is why I asked it. When we get to facts, I'll reveal the reason why they are blue and how Tom Savini felt about it after it was finished, and he kind of went, "Oh shit."
Right, okay, that's cool. Because I didn't know. I just assumed it was just something that they'd maybe used in the Night of the Living Dead and transferred the same sort of effects over, and it just now it's in color. It's a lot more apparent that this looks absolutely ridiculous.
My biggest issue with this movie and the zombie subgenre as a whole is slow moving zombies. So we get our first zombie, and he attacks a highly trained member of a SWAT team, who, when he kind of attacks, he's nowhere near him. And he goes, "Ugh." And the SWAT team guy falls over. He trips over a chair. He then fucks around and fumbles with his gun while this zombie is moaning and crawling towards him. Like, this guy is highly trained. He had so much time to kill him and didn't. And it's a reoccurring thing. And I just find it so, like, if it was me, fine. I'm not highly trained. I'm not a member of a SWAT team. If I trip over something and a zombie's coming towards me, yeah, that's terrifying. But to watch someone who is allegedly a member of a crack team of like highly trained weapons experts fumble and fuck around with his gun for over a minute while this zombie gradually makes his way towards him is painful to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's a few elements that you could sort of say to justify this. Whether they're actually correct or not, I don't know. I mean, obviously the chaos has ensued, and you can ultimately assume that they're bringing in rookies and all the rest of it to help deal with the overflow of chaos. So a lot of these people are probably straight out of boot camp and don't have actual experience out in the field in order to look after themselves. And not only that, there has never been a zombie apocalypse before. There has never been a proper, fully fleshed zombie movie before. So this is the first real-world experience of zombies. So knowing how to deal with them, they don't have the pop culture references that we have now 50 years later. So,
Okay,
yeah, I
fair
mean, don't
point.
get me wrong. In our minds, we are very much zombie assassins. However, back in the day, we'd never seen a zombie before. We'd never really seen this sort of thing play out on screen. So you don't know how you would handle it, do you?
Yeah, this is true. So we get a section now, sort of after everything's calmed down a bit. We've got Peter and we've got, what's his name? It's gone. Roger.
Roger.
Down in the basement. And they're talking again about getting to the chopper. Comes in the room and he wants to get through. And he just made me think of Nelson Mandela. He looks so much like Nelson Mandela, it blew my mind.
With one leg.
I went and Googled in case it was.
Can you actually imagine if it was Nelson Mandela in this movie?
Well,
That would
like
be insane.
70s, I was like, is it? It looks like him a lot. It looks like a young, and I would have Googled, it's not Nelson Mandela.
No,
in
it's
case anyone
definitely
was
not.
The rest of the SWAT team are upstairs and they're now overrun and overpowered. And this is when Peter finds the dead bodies that they're harboring in the basement. And they start coming to life, and Peter starts shooting them and killing them with the help of Roger.
Yes,
I quite like this because you could see the struggle that Peter goes through. That he kind of sits on the fence if he doesn't actually want to do this, but he knows he has to.
Yeah,
and that comes across. So that's really good. Roger, on the other hand, is like, fucking shoot that zombie.
Yeah, and I mean, this is coming off the back of the Vietnam War as well, which is quite a big sort of parallel to this movie in a way, the same way with consumerism. And you can see that both of these two people are vets and have served and do suffer from PTSD in a way, especially Roger later on, which we'll get to. But yeah, I think that kind of element springs forward in this scene a little bit.
Yeah. Again, like this bit's good. I'm not dogging on this movie all the way through. There are elements of this movie that I really enjoy. We cut from here and we cut to the chopper with Stephen and the lady from earlier.
I'm not even going to acknowledge it, because if I acknowledge it, you're just going to keep doing it.
They pick up Peter and Roger. And I'm not 100% sure where they're going or what they're doing. Like, they're at a police station where they meet them and pick them up. And again, there's loads of stuff in this. I don't know if it's because of the cut I watched, but the Argento cut seems to be missing a lot of information of how we get from A to B and why this is happening. So there's bits where I'm going, why are they in a helicopter? Why are they meeting together?
I'll kind of break it down for you really quickly. So Flyboy, Stephen, as he's known, is the aerial weatherman. He's the guy who goes up in the sky.
Yeah.
Like the guy from The Simpsons, whatever his name is. I can't remember. What's the Simpsons guy now?
This is Arnie Pie, the guy in the sky.
That's the one. He's Arnie Pie guy in the sky, but his name's Steven. He comes down and obviously tells Linda, look, we're getting out of here. I'm stealing the chopper. I can't believe I've just fucking done it myself already. Dickhead. So he comes down and gets Linda. But Roger explains to Peter down in the basement cellar, he says, look, I know a guy. And he's like, look, I want to. He starts off the conversation where he's like, look, I want to run. I get the feeling I could just run away from all of this.
Yeah.
I know a guy who's got a chopper. He wants me to meet him at 9. Do you want to come with me? So that's where they kind of, fuck's sake. So they kind of interact with each other, decide that they're going to go and meet Stephen and leave together. Because in the other cut as well, Linda's extremely racist towards Peter when he arrives.
Really?
Yeah, not like extremely racist where she outright calls him racist remarks, but they have a conversation and Peter says something about his brothers and she turns around to his, what, your street brothers or your actual brothers? But like really looks down on him as well as he gets out the car as if to say, what's he doing here? It's awful, really it is, but it's insinuated upon heavily. And I think that's in the canned version if you wanted to watch that scene.
Yeah, well, we'll talk about that when we get to roundups of where I will be watching future iterations of this. They get in the chopper and they're low on fuel. Oh, bugger, I missed one. And they're low on fuel. And we see zombies wandering around and we see local military moving people about. And I like the little scene we get here with like the locals kill zombies. Like you see all the locals on the ground where they're like taking pop shots at zombies and I think
everyone's having a great time.
Yeah, like the zombies move really slow, and like the people on the ground are like, ha, look, there's one there. And then like they take a shot and they take it out and they're like high-fiving and happy.
Yeah, they're all barbecuing and just taking their time. And
yeah, like on the ground, everything is chilled. Our team land at like a runway strip to refuel, and they start filling up. And Stephen goes to investigate some storage hangars. And he takes the girl with him. I feel really bad. I can't remember her name. Peter also goes to investigate while Roger fills up. Zombies attack, and we get Stephen kill one with a hammer, which again, like the zombie attacks and like it's all so slow. And I know it's because it's one of the first times it's happened, but it's also slow. Like Peter is also attacked. He's attacked by the best zombies in this movie who are not slow. They're small children and they run at him. They are the most threatening zombies in this movie.
There's one thing that really annoyed me about the Argento cut is this segment is so heavily edited. He like shoots the door for quite a while high up.
Yeah.
Before it opens because he thinks he's aiming at head height, and then the door opens and the children burst through. This goes on for quite a while in the normal cuts. And he just unloads and kills them like quite graphically as well, which I wasn't expecting him to do. But then coming in from behind him, we get the iconic sort of zombie from this movie with all the burnt side of his face and stuff like that. But prior to that, in the other cut, they miss out a really important segment. After Peter, and I've just Googled it, and her name is Francine, not Linda, I do apologize. Francine.
Yes, Fran. They call her Fran. Of course
they call her Fran. I don't know why I went to Linda. So Francine and Peter have their little escapade earlier on, and as they're coming back to get Roger's fueling up the chopper. Might as well go with it. But there's a really cool scene. There's a really cool scene because it's still whirling, so he can't hear anything. But there's zombies slowly coming up behind him. But there's like a pile of crates in the way, and he has to walk over the top of the crates to get to Roger. But as he steps up onto the crates, he walks right into the blades of the chopper, and it just whacks the top of his head off. It's so fucking cool. And the reason I bring it up that it's not in this cut is because it's really important for what I'm going to discuss at the end regarding how this movie intended to originally play out.
Right. Okay. I like this. I like the fact that they take this out, and this builds a little bit of tension because Stephen takes a shot to try and shoot a zombie, and afterwards Peter's like, don't point a gun at a person. He's pointing a gun at him. He's like, it's not nice, is it? It's not nice. And Steve's like, no, it's fucking not nice. Get it out of my face.
Stephen's such a melt.
He is. They get back in the air and they're looking for fuel again. and they come across a shopping centre with a handful of zombies wandering around outside, and they land on the roof. I'm going to ask why. How many shopping centres do you know that have fuel inside?
I don't think it was the reason they were going for fuel. They were just going for supplies.
Okay, because when they're
So
like,
they-
we need fuel. Oh, let's land there. I was like, why? There's not going to be any fuel in there. You'll get some nice handbags and maybe a hat, but no fuel.
No, there is a conversation where they say they're just going to retcon and sort of have a rest and figure out what their plan is next.
Yeah.
So that was the idea.
There's a really cool bit here, which is really underplayed and it's really small. And this is the bit where they're stood on the roof and they realize that zombies can't climb. And they're looking through the skylight and they can see that there's supplies in there and they break in. And they also realize that all of the zombies in the shopping center are limited to the ground floor. They can't get up to the next floor. And I thought that was a really nice touch because it makes sense of their sort of next coming moves because they know that these things are restricted to ground floor level. And I thought it was so well done and so underplayed. It was a moment where I went, that's great. That's really, really good writing.
And again, it's different cuts. Do you know what I mean? Like that's a lot that's extended a lot more in different versions of the movie.
Yeah. Now they go in and they sit down and they find a sort of little hiding place up in one of the offices. And Peter has a moment where he goes, there's loads of stuff downstairs. Me and Roger are going to go and steal loads of stuff. Like literally that's it. And they go looting. They go on a looting trip. This is where the consumerism messages start coming in. Consumerism is bad. By doing these things, you're bringing bad things on you. They find the store keys and they grab some walkie-talkies in one of the offices before making their way into the shopping centre. And they also put on all the lights and all the music. It's a bad decision. We've seen how that plays out in Shaun of the Dead when they play with an arcade machine.
Yeah, this also turns on the escalators.
Yes, it does. Again, another bad thing that they don't want to do. They get onto the shopping floor and they start taking out zombies and they begin to loot some of the stores. After hearing some gunfire, Stephen goes down too. So he's like, I'm going to go and look as well. And he leaves Fran upstairs. Again, these two highly trained SWAT team members are struggling with the slow moving zombies. Like when they get to the store and they're trying to open the door, instead of one of them turning around and like just taking them out, he's like, quick, hurry up, they're coming. And there's this zombie like 20 foot away going,
I mean, the thing is, the way that I perceive this is more, this is like Resident Evil and you've got to conserve your ammo. They don't know whether they're going to be able to stock up on ammunition again. So it's like, do you just unload on a load of zombies knowing you could probably close the door in time?
Well, I suppose there is that. The store they get into is TK Maxx from the 1970s. That's the only way I can describe
The
it.
70s vibes this is giving me, bro.
And their shopping choices are great. So they get TVs, they get wallets, they get jewelry, they get clothes, and they put everything in a wheelbarrow. While this is all going on, Stephen's still making his way down and he collects a gun from the shopping centre office. These two clowns trying to get out of the store with their stuff is hilarious. So they kind of knock on the window to get all the zombies' attention, and they're doing that so they can clear another area. And this is where Stephen has his encounter with a zombie in the basement.
And it's at this moment, honestly.
It's not even near him, and he just starts like opening fire. Like this guy
and
is
the place that he
moron.
opens fire as well is the most ludicrous thing. He's literally in like a boiler room, surrounded by pressure gauges.
Yeah.
And he fires his gun, and you hear this ping, 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 ping. So it's like bouncing off the pipes in all different manner of directions, and he keeps unloading his gun. I'm like, what are you doing?
And even the two SWAT guys, they hear this and they're like, "Oh, Flyboy's out. We better go and help him." The scene where Stephen's knocked to the floor, so a zombie sort of barges him to the floor, and he's laying on the floor like with a half-loaded gun, holding it as the slow zombie walks towards him. He's going click, click, click. This is painful, and honestly, I wanted the zombie to kill him because he deserved to die for his stupidity.
Yeah, I mean, they set it up pretty well that he is an idiot. I mean, the first kill at the where they land the planes try and fuel up. And he kills one with a hammer, and then the second zombie he runs at, he literally just throws his entire body at him, knocking it to the ground. I'm like, you do not know how to look after yourself at all.
No, he really doesn't. Thankfully, Peter saves Stephen from further attacks. They reach the ground floor. Now, all three of them are locked in TK Maxx.
Yes.
Again, slow-ass zombie attacks them in the store, and the three of them struggle to take it down. I think this is where my problem lies, and I know it's early in the zombie genre, but three fully grown, like if it was me, you, and someone else, fully grown guys, I think you and me, forget a third, you and me could easily take out one slow-moving zombie on our own.
Is this where it grabs Roger?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it grabs Roger, pulls him to the floor. Roger's battling with it on the floor. Peter is obviously trying to take a shot. He's aiming his gun as if he's going to wipe it out. But in this scene, I agree with you. My mind immediately just went, just go and pick the thing up and get it off him.
Yeah.
Like, why are you stood watching him struggle? Thankfully, Roger's a great guy, and the guy is a handyman. He's a handyman at the shopping center, and he has a tool belt on with a screwdriver in it. He pulls out the screwdriver and he pierces it Rick Grimes style through the ear, which is really cool.
Now, after this, they try the same tactics again, knocking the glass and getting the zombies all distracted so they can find another way out. We're about halfway through. We don't normally do this, but I'm going to drop in. We've got 4 TikTok talks this week. I'm going to drop one in now to give some context of how other people are feeling about this movie. So this one has come from Creature Pod.
I'm Scott. I had literally did the 3-word review, and I had said overrated, or no, redundant. Both would work. And this is the point where I push myself away from the rest of horror fans who are going to be like, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about, Junkie Larry. They're probably right. But let's get into Dawn of the Dead, 1978. George Romero's classic movie, not named Night of the Living Dead. This is not his best movie. And a lot of people, they have a fondness for this film because this is their training wheels into gore and splatter. This is Tom Savini, really coming into his own as well. There's a head explosion scene in this that's fucking tremendous. Guy gets his head fucking chopped off by a helicopter blade. There's a lot going for this film, but plot-wise, it is incredibly redundant. Consumerism bad. Consumerism bad. Consumerism bad. You get it? Consumerism's bad. I don't know if that message was hammered home enough. I love the frenetic pace of the opening of the film when they introduce Ken Fore's character and they're going into the building and all that shit. When they introduce Galen Ross and they're in the film studio, it's just tremendous, and all of that stuff is great. But I liked it better in The Crazies. A lot of people, with this film and The Crazies are like, the remakes are better. I disagree. I would take Dawn of the Dead 78 over the 2003 remake. And I know a lot of people are like, oh, it's not as good as the movie with the fast-running zombies by the idiot who makes fucking dumb movies. I don't like Zack Snyder. His fucking dude bro approach to making quite literally anything it's insufferable to me. But as far as films with a message, this is not his best film. That would be Night of the Living Dead. As far as zombie films, this is not his best film. That would be Day of the Dead. As far as films released in 1978, this is not his best film. That would be Martin. This is, however, his best collaboration with Dario Argento, because Two Evil Eyes ain't it. The use of Goblin in this film is fucking tremendous. And, I've seen the Italian cut, the zombie cut, where it's just Goblin, and I miss the kind of Pittsburghian fucking dipshit music that's kind of thrown in there. I love Galen Ross's performance in this fucking movie. It has the ability to grow and progress and transcend. Kinfore is incredible, but Kinfore is incredible in everything. So rather than watching Dawn of the Dead, because everybody's fucking seen Dawn of the Dead, I want to recommend some movies that people haven't seen. Martin, number 1. His best movie of all fucking time. That's his best movie. Night Riders. That fucking movie rules. A tremendous performance by Ed Harris. And The Crazies. I know a lot of people love that Crazies remake, and it's good, but it ain't got shit on that fucking original Crazies. That original Crazies is bleak, and it's depressing, and it ends with the song Heaven Help Us, and it just fucking incredible. I prefer that over Dawn of the Dead. But Dawn of the Dead is an amazing film because it gives you a glimpse into the world of George Romero and into the world of gore and into the world of zombies. And for a lot of people, for me, it was my entry point into Italian horror, into really violent zombie horror, into gore films. So as much as I feel it's a redundant film, I do feel it has a purpose, and it is absolutely an integral film, but it's not the best. That was 5 minutes, not 3, and I'm sorry. I'm not really sorry. You can use this or not. But thank you, and if you guys do actually use this, make sure you go and listen to Creature Features. That will be airing May 2nd. Yes, I threw a plug in at the end of my TikTok talk because I'm a shameless whore. Love you. Mean it. Peace out.
Oh, legend.
I love Larry. And yeah, his show Creature Features is coming back. So I'll keep you updated on when that's out, because Larry has some interesting takes. He's been on this show before, and he's got interesting taste in horror. He covers some very interesting movies on his show that you probably won't get here.
No, no, he's a very trauma-heavy dude. I don't know if he still is as heavily involved in the trauma world in his podcast as he used to be, but yeah, he loves a trauma movie.
He does. Now, anyway, the girl's hiding place has been found, and long and short of it, they're making their way through the ceiling at this point. So they've gone.
Yeah, so just for clarification, the reason Flyboy goes down into the basement area is to find the blueprints for the building, which is appreciated by Peter. They then discover the tunnel vents that they can use to then get to certain locations above ground without interference from zombies. When Francine is up in the room, this is where we learn that the zombies are sort of trackers in a way. They will follow you. They will know where you've come from. And the Hare Krishna zombie follows up the staircase and enters into the room where Francine's hiding.
Yeah, and
everybody else is making their way back through the vents.
And he really is the guy from the Blue Man Group. I
mean, this is Papa Smurf in its finest form. This is the bluest zombie in the entire movie.
It is, and I don't know if it's the way it's lit, but there's a moment where, because it's got a bald head as well, there's a moment when it turns. It's almost like luminescent blue. It's like
she lights up the flare, and it is just literally navy blue zombie.
I'm pretty sure there's a reel coming where that zombie appears, and all you hear in the soundtrack is la 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 la. She fends him off with the flare and has an orgasm at the same time. Like, her screaming in this is ridiculous. Until the guys in very 70s style come in and they're like, "Don't worry, little woman, we will save the day." It's very masculine. Toxic.
Yeah, Flyboy immediately comes running in with a gun to shoot it before, thankfully, Roger's like, "No, don't shoot it. The rest of them will follow." And he wipes it out with the butt of his gun. I wish they'd have filmed that. That would have been a cool Savini moment to have him like smash the skull in with the back of the gun.
Yeah,
that was a shame we didn't get that on screen, but still.
We now get a very long sequence of them holed up, eating, drinking Jack Daniels. they're listening and watching emergency broadcasts on the TV. We get some narrative here through the news reports of communications are down across several cities, and basically the US has gone to shit. And I love Stephen. He's like, I can't believe the government can't handle this situation. I'm like, really? Really, Stephen? You're surprised the government can't handle something? Like, it blew my mind that was even like a line that was thrown into a movie. Like,
considering the two of them are government workers and have decided to abandon their post and leave the government to it.
Yeah, like if there was a zombie outbreak now, at no point would I be looking to the government for help, because they are going to be absolutely useless.
Yeah, it's every man for himself in that situation, I think.
Yeah. This is where we find out Fran is also 4 months pregnant. Peter, really odd here, asks Stephen if he wants to abort it, saying, it's not too late and I know how to do this. I was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, man.
What?
It's wild, isn't it?
What's even more wild is Stephen has a moment where he's like, like rubbing his chin going, oh, well, now you've suggested it. I hadn't thought of it before. It's the wildest thing and weirdest thing in this movie.
No, I mean, I don't condone abortion in any form of the situation. However, zombie apocalypse is probably not the best time to have a baby.
It's probably not, but I don't think if Fran was my other half and that was something we were considering, I don't think I'd be letting some random doomsday Peter that I've known 8 minutes do it.
I like the way that it's just the men discussing her future as well. Like, she has no involvement in the situation. It's like, we can do it for you if you want, Flyboy.
Yeah, it's wild. We now get a montage of zombies with a voiceover of, it's the news report voicing over this zombies moving around, and they're saying that they only attack living people. They've retained some of their basic abilities of like using tools to bludgeon things and standing and moving, and like they're only driven by food now, so that's their only instinct, is to find and eat and create more of them. Really cool.
Yeah, there's going to loads of depth about how they're being branded as cannibals, but cannibals are not. They're no longer human, so therefore they're not eating themselves, sort of thing. They're not cannibals.
Yeah,
it's cool. It's cool. There's a lot more to it than we could possibly go into right now, because it goes on for a good few minutes, but it's a really cool monologue.
Yeah, I really like this. We cut to the next day and we watch some more news footage, and they're saying that it's being investigated as a viral outbreak and they're looking for a vaccine. Like, we know the government can't do shit with vaccines. Like, they've proven that numerous times. And when they said it, I was like, wow, this is really ahead of its time. Like, this is like future
prediction.
Isn't it? Yeah. I do like now, this is where Fran has a moment where she's like, right, you all need to listen to me. I'm not just a girl. I'm not here to be fucking cooking and cleaning up after you. I want to know what's going on. I want to be involved in the conversation, and I want a gun. Is that clear?
Yeah, I like the way that Peter's like, because at first Flyboy's like proper dickheadish about it, isn't he? He's like,
yeah,
really pissed off that she's opened her mouth and spoke to other men. I'm like, you're a dickhead, dude. But Peter's like, yeah, you're right. You're completely right. But it's as simple as this. Until you learn to look after yourself, you are not coming with us.
Yeah, you need to learn to use a gun, and until then, you stay put.
She has a cool thing as well where she's like, I want to learn to fly the chopper. Ding. The reason being is that if anything happens to Flyboy, somebody else needs to know how to fly the chopper, which is really cool, because that's a perfect thing. It's like, well, yeah, of course, he's the only one who can fly it. If he dies,
you're stuck.
It's redundant to them. They can't use it.
Yeah. The three men leave, so Peter and Roger go off in a truck, and Stephen follows in the chopper, which they had no fuel for earlier. They'd nearly run out.
No, they have fuel. They just don't have a lot of fuel.
Okay. So Roger is trying to. So they drive off for a bit, and then Roger gets out, and he's trying to get another truck going, and he's attacked by two zombies, and one of them picks up a tire iron, and he's struggling with one, and then Peter pulls up next to him. He's like, "Lift that one up," and he shoots it in the head, and then the other zombie breaks the glass, and Roger goes a bit mental at this point.
Yeah.
It's like he has a full like emotional breakdown that he can't handle this shit no more.
Yeah, it's that whole PTSD thing I was talking about earlier. He loses his mind, the sort of, because you see a lot of the times as well when something really graphic or traumatic happens, it always pans to Roger to see the shock on his face. Like the earlier on in the SWAT meeting, just before the guys burst out the rooftop, and he's talking to the new recruit, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's my first time out." Rah, 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 rah. And as soon as a door opens up, he just gets immediately shot in the forehead, and you just see Roger's face just fall at the shock of all of this. And it's getting to that point where it's all just becoming a little bit too much, and he just goes in the completely wrong direction with it, and he's just reckless and stupid and careless in these moments, at which point Peter has to pull him back and be like, "Look, dude, this isn't just your life you're messing with, this is mine. Pull yourself together, trooper. Are you good?"
Yeah, and I like that element of it. I've got to ask a question. So Peter keeps banging on about they need to stick to the plan and they've got a lot of work to do. Did I miss something? What is the plan? Why are they not in the shopping centre anymore? Why are they even outside?
So obviously, again, this is the Argento cut. It really heavily cuts down a lot of the bloating. They have a massive conversation about how they're going to haul up here. They've got everything they need. All they need to do is fortify it. They talk about the doors and that they're getting in through the doors, but then they also have a conversation that this is a prime location and we need to be more conscious about looters as opposed to the zombies themselves. We can handle the zombies at this point. I think by now they've been there a month or two.
Yeah.
So what the plan is to get the trucks and park them in front of the glass doors to prevent anybody from entering.
Right.
And also keep so they can't just drive cars through the glass doors to get in. So they're going to pull up all the trucks.
I saw what their plan done later, but like at this point, he's like, "This, we got this plan. We need to do it." And I'm like, "What's your plan?" Because this doesn't come to fruition for 20 minutes.
No, but that's the thing. Again, this is all down to the editing of the Argento cut. He cuts out a lot of dialogue and stuff like that and focuses more on the pacing. But again, these kind of things are vital to the plot. I mean, it's great for, like I said, the Argento cut's great for a rewatch. If you've already seen the movie in its extended version, you know everything you need to know. So watching this is basically like a condensed highlight reel. But yeah, they have a big conversation about fortifying it for people who may stumble across it and think we want to get in there and take what's inside.
Okay. That makes sense. A lot of sense. They get back, and when they get back, there's another moment where zombies are attacking, and they're trying to get Peter, and they're trying to get Roger, and Stephen's still up in the chopper, so he's fine. The girl on the roof, who's never fired a gun before, picks up a gun and is now a sharpshooter.
And again, it's down to the editing, man. There's a big segment where she's shooting mannequins in the ice arena earlier on that they haven't shown, like where she's actually starting to learn how to use a gun properly.
Yeah, and it's in this moment that Roger he's being a bit of a dick. He's not thinking things through, and this is where he gets bitten. They get Roger back upstairs and they make a plan. I still don't understand to do what, but they make a plan. They're safe, they're fine, and they went on a little joyride in some trucks. Stephen and Peter decide they're going to go and do some more looting, and they go to the gun shop to stock up on weapons. I like.
So basically, at this point, the doors are still sort of open, so people can still come. They haven't closed all the doors to the shopping centre yet, so things can still come in freely as they want. So the plan is to put the trucks in place, which will condense the flow and also prevent looters. To which point then they'll restock with ammo from the gun shop, and then they'll go out, they'll lock all the doors, and then they'll take care of what's actually inside. And then once everybody's cleared from the inside, they're fortified, they're safe, and they can have free reign of whatever they want.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, Stephen and Peter go to the gun shop, which makes perfect sense. And then they go back to the shopping centre and they go back to the like TK Maxx thing, and they bring Fran, and they bring Roger, who's now sat in the wheelbarrow.
Which is
like, why? It's funny, but I laughed. It's like they're wheeling around a wheelbarrow. That's brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, he can still shoot. He just can't walk.
Yeah, they decide to head to the entrance to lock the front doors, as you say. The girls suggest they use one of the cars that's in the shopping centre. So I don't know if this is still a thing, but I remember growing up where there'd be cars in shopping centres. You could enter a prize draw to win it. Peter and the wheelbarrow are just so funny. Like Peter wheeling Roger around just is hilarious to me. like they're on the case, so like they like load Roger into the car out of the wheelbarrow into the car. He gets bitten again.
No, he doesn't get bitten.
goes-
She just sticks her finger.
Oh yeah,
The
digs her
zombie just
hand
grabs him
into-
and like digs her hand into his wound, and all the blood spurts out. It's really cool, man.
Yeah,
Really cool. And that feels more painful to me than a bite.
Yeah,
When I watched it, I wince every time.
They drive down to the entrance. They Tokyo drift themselves down there. They lock all the doors. They Tokyo drift them to the other entrance. They lock all those doors, and then they head back to TK Maxx.
Yes.
We now see them planning to build walls, and this is really clever. So they're sat looking at the plans, and Peter's saying, "Look, we don't want to barricade the stairs because that's going to be really obvious. We don't want anyone to know these stairs exist. So we're going to build a wall beyond the stairs, and like this whole thing here will not exist anymore. And we're going to go up and through the ducting to get in and out of here. So if anyone does get in, we are completely hidden and completely safe." I like this. And I also like the fact that they go back to Fran being pregnant because she's suffering with morning sickness now as well.
Yeah.
They do a bit of dialogue of they're going to go clean up, and then we see them dumping bodies into the freezers. I'm guessing there was a segment where we saw the mask of them all in another cut.
Yeah, it's again a lot more extended. There's a lot more extended version of them moving the bodies and disposing of them in the freezers all throughout the shopping center. Again, it's a really cut down version for stuff that's plot heavy.
And as we're going through, I'm starting to understand now the plot holes I have with this are being filled by you telling me what's in the other cuts.
Yeah.
They find a load of cash. And this cracked me up where Peter's gone, well, you never know. They just load it all into bags, like just in case, we'll take it.
And then they just take a smiling selfie at the security camera.
They go shopping again. They go ice skating and they play a bit of golf and they do basketball. They go to the arcade. This shopping scene is so gratuitous. Like this takes about 15 minutes of the movie. Honestly, could have been covered in about 3. Also,
it's about half an hour long in the other cuts.
Peter's fur coat is fucking ridiculous.
Yes. And the thing is, I know that you say it's annoying, but again, in this cut, they sort of show you the highlight reels of it. But when you watch the other versions, you see the slow descent of them becoming annoyed by each other's company, stuck in this center, and the isolation and how it's affecting the relationships between them, especially between Flyboy and Fran, and how tiresome they become of each other. You see one scene where they've just had sex in bed and they both just look completely pissed off at the world and fed up with each other's company.
To be fair, that's how Lisa looks every time we have sex.
So I think again, this stuff that you're having issues with, had you maybe persevered with the longer versions, it might have maybe, because those elements are the things that I enjoy about this movie the most. I know a lot of people like, the gore, like Chunky Larry mentioned, you get a lot of Savini cool stuff, but for me, it's my personal enjoyment from this movie is the breakdowns of the relationships between the core characters. Something that is missing substantially from this version of the film.
Yeah, and this is where we get the iconic line, when there is no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth, as zombies are trying to get into the shopping centre now. We get Roger really struggling now. He's in pain. He's starting to turn. And he asks Peter, like, when I die, I'm going to try my best not to come back. And don't shoot me unless I actually come back. If I don't come back, just leave me alone. And I thought that was a really nice little element there, that he just he believes in himself that he cannot come back. I thought that was quite.
And that's cool as well,
sweet.
because the first time I watched it, I didn't necessarily believe he would have done, because clearly I didn't watch the trailer for this movie.
No.
Because they have a real cool dialogue segment earlier on between Stephen and Peter where he's explaining, I've seen people come back in a matter of hours and days after bites. This guy's still hanging on near enough 3 weeks later. He's the toughest guy I know. So when they have this conversation about him refusing to come back, I'm like, do you know what? Maybe he actually does do it. That would be amazing. Yeah. Unfortunately, that's not the case.
It's not the case. We get another news report where the government's current advice is either to feed the zombies and keep them happy and keep them away, or they're considering dropping nuclear bombs.
Yes.
Again, don't listen to the government, because both of those options are equally crap.
Yeah, I mean, the guy that's referring to this is sort of like a shock jock guy. He's like I don't know, what are the American shock jocks that you can think of?
He's Joe Rogan of 1978.
Yeah, he's a Joe Rogan with an eye patch, and he's coming up with these wild theories on what they should do. He's a guy who gives a monologue earlier on. That's really, really cool. But by this point, they're all sat in the studio and they're all drinking neat vodka and clearly just banging about wild theories between themselves. And he's like, look, we just need to nuke the heavily populated areas. Yeah. I'm like, well, to be fair, they kind of do.
Yeah, they kind of do. Roger turns and Peter shoots him is the long and short of it. It's a very long scene. It's very sad, but there's not much to say there. He turns, he sits up. Peter shoots him in the head. They bury him in the shopping centre garden, which made me chuckle. And now they teach. We get Fran being taught to shoot a little bit. They have a romantic meal where Peter becomes the waiter. Which very odd. And also, Fran is heavily pregnant at this point. What, 6 months pregnant?
Yep.
She is always drinking wine.
You can have a glass a day.
She's having a glass a minute throughout these scenes. Like every time you see her, she's got a glass of wine on the go.
I don't condone drinking or smoking whilst pregnant, but I do believe you can actually occasionally have a glass of wine and it'd be okay.
I agree.
Just don't go on like a 3 a.m. bender. Being pregnant.
We get more montages of numbers of zombies increasing. There was only a scattering of them at the beginning, and now there's getting more and more and more. We get a weird section where Fran does like a makeup tutorial, and it's just this whole section's a bit weird for me.
Yeah, but this is cool, and the reason why I like this scene as well is because she's in a complete moment of forgetfulness of where she is and what she's doing, and it isn't until the repetitive voice that we hear regularly throughout the movie plays again as almost like an alarm clock. It's like, don't forget, get your tickets, and then she just realizes, and she hears that tannoy playing, and she just pulls the makeup and the eyelashes off, and she realizes again where she is.
Yeah. We see Fran learning to fly the chopper. Where we get the biker gang led by Tom Savini watching from afar. They plan on hitting it later. His character is 100% the inspiration for Negan on The Walking Dead, without a doubt in my mind.
This is the early version of the sex machine from Dusk Till Dawn.
It is. Peter, Stephen, and Fran actually communicate with these bikers, so they radio in, and the gang are trying to say there's only 3 of them. And then, like, there's a big gaggle of them, like, laughing that Peter and Steve can hear.
Hyenas behind them. I'm like, how can you not keep quiet for 30 seconds while they try and bluff this?
Yeah, and they're like, well, you're not coming in. And the gang attack. This is cool. And I'll be honest, it's the first time in probably 40 minutes of watching this that I was actually invested, because these are a genuine threat. I didn't see the zombies at any point as a genuine threat to our little core group. But this gang of
the
bikers
thing is, I'm not a massive fan of this biker section because they're played on such a comedic level. Not so much in the Argento cut because they have the heavy goblin score throughout, which is fucking awesome. But in the normal cuts, the music that plays out behind these guys as they're entering is like clown music. It's fucking weird.
Oh, is it?
Oh, honestly. And then they have the pie fight, which I'm sure you're going to get to.
I'm 100% getting to the pie fight. Peter and Stephen try and shut the gates. I was like, what gates? It's already locked up. I didn't know what gates they were on about. And then I realized it was the shop fronts. They were trying to close the shop fronts off to protect their merchandise. That's what they were worried about. The bikers clean out the zombies outside with like no effort whatsoever. And after a few minutes, they're in the loading docks. They've opened them. And Peter's like, look, we need to stay out of sight. We'll get to our hiding places. There are so many zombies they've just let in. These guys are fucked anyway. Let's let the zombies kill them. After that, we'll come out and we'll mop up, we'll clean up, we'll get everything locked up, and we'll be fine. Did you catch the bit where 2 bikers went into a shop and it's got a gated drop shutter and they shot their gun 5 times at the just in the holes, and then the gate magically opened?
Magical. They're precision shooters.
The bikers loot the shit out of this place while killing zombies as they go. explain to me the pie section, please.
I can't. I honestly can't explain it to you. I have no idea why this is here or what point George Romero in his screenwriting just thought this movie needs a pie fight.
Yeah, this needs a Benny Hill moment. Let's do that now.
And again, it's amplified better in this cut because of the Goblin score, but in the other version, it is just fucking stupid, man. Honestly, it is absolutely ridiculous. And I hate every single second of it. I just don't get it. They all just start whipping up these cream pies that they pull out of a freezer and start just custard pieing zombies throughout the shopping center. And it's wild, man. It really is.
Peter tries to get Stephen to hold, and he's trying to get hold of him on the radio, and he's not answering. And this is where Stephen's like, they're going to steal all my stuff and start shooting. I was like, what are you doing?
Yeah, he says a line, it's mine. Oh,
yeah.
We work for its hours or something like that. And it's only up until the point they start taking the money that he has this moment of that's ours.
Yeah.
Like they go into the bank segment where they went in earlier. And I'm like, dude, that shit's fucking worthless. Of everything in the shopping center that you're surrounded by right now, that's the one thing you have a problem with them taking.
Yeah, and this is where Peter goes, damn, we're at all-out war now. Damn it, Pete. Damn it, Stephen, we're at all-out war. This is a showcase of visual effects from the 70s, this whole section. And it's very, very gross. And I imagine in 78, this was like blow your mind, shocking levels of gore. This would have been like, fuck, someone's arm just got ripped off in a door. It doesn't hold up. It looks cheap. The blood is so red, like the reddest of red of our logo red.
That's an Argento thing, though. That's an Italian horror influence. I definitely.
Yeah. It's very, very repetitive with the score over the top. Because this section is so long, I find it really annoying. Like, I'm like, okay, I get it now. You've killed 15 zombies. We've seen arms ripped off. We've seen people get shot. We've seen eyes pulled out. We've seen all this great, great stuff. Why are you still showing me more? I don't need any more now. It's enough.
No, and I'm with you 100% on that. And my biggest grievances with this movie is this final act with the biker gang. I don't like it. I feel like the pacing of it is wildly different to what we've experienced for the first 2 hours and 15 minutes prior to this happening. It feels very out of left field. I don't know why so much comedic elements are introduced here, considering that we haven't had anything up until this point.
No, it doesn't fit.
It doesn't fit. This whole thing just feels wildly out of place with the rest of the movie. And I get the ideas behind it, and I get that this is a penultimate act and why it has to happen in order for it to get to where it needs to.
Yeah.
But I just feel like it's handled in such a schlocky, shoddy way that it compromises everything that's come before it.
Yeah, the bikers now make their way upstairs. They have a brief shootout with Peter before he sees Peter go up a ladder, and he now knows how to get into their hiding space. This is Savini. The bikers call the lift, and Stephen's on top of the lift, and they know this, and they fire a couple of shots up, and they shoot him in his arm. Peter's up in the air ducks. He's taking pop shots at people, and zombies are pouring through the doors. He shoots Savini off a balcony. I was convinced Savini was coming back from that, but he doesn't.
I know. I knew Savini was going to die one way or another. I'm quite disappointed his death wasn't as gory as it should have been.
Yeah,
being the guy that he is, I thought he should have got ripped apart the most.
Yeah. Stephen drops down into the lift after being shot, and he calls Peter, and Peter says he's coming to get him, and the zombies are now overpowering the bikers, and long and short of it, they all attack Peter in this lift.
Yeah.
No, they don't they attack Stephen in the lift.
Yeah, they get flyby. I really like this as well because Peter is on his way to rescue him out of the lift, and he hears on the radio that the zombies are attacking him, and he has this real sort of conflict in his mind of whether to go, whether not to go. Ultimately, he decides that he's done for and that there's nothing that can be done, and he leaves up until the point where he hears gunshots. as Flyboy's trying to defend himself in the elevator. And out of all the things he's done in this entire movie, this fucking last stand that he has is monumental. He single-handedly just evacuates the elevator of about 10 zombies. I mean, don't get me wrong, he gets bit like 19 times in the process.
Yeah, but he puts up a decent fight. And this is the bit I think is really clever. So earlier they pre-tell you that you retain basic memories, which is why zombies are naturally going to the shopping centre, because that's what they'd done when they were alive. Stephen's memories is going up to where their little hideout is. And he leads the zombies through the wall, which they built earlier, which apparently they built out of a single sheet of cardboard, which I thought was piss poor. Like, they literally get to it and I was like, that's actually cardboard with bits of wood glued to the back of it that aren't fixed to anything. Peter tells Dawn, like, get
Francine.
out, like Francine, Dawn, Ruth, whatever her name is, like go up, Linda, Jessica, Emma, go up that ladder, get in the helicopter and go. And she does.
I don't want to go. It's
Yeah,
important to say that Peter refuses to go with her. He's like, I don't want to leave. I'm done. Sort of thing.
And I didn't get it. Like, that doesn't fit with his character all the way
doesn't
through
at all,
the
does it?
movie. And he sort of points the gun at his head like he's going to kill himself. And then he changes his mind and he fights through the zombies and he climbs up the ladder.
Fucking A-Team soundtrack plays out as he's doing it. The most American militant score ever. It's like dun 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 dun, and he's like karate kicking zombies as he makes his way to the rooftop.
He gets up on the rooftop. He gets to the chopper, and they fly off. And the credits roll.
I love it. It's great. One thing that's really cool. Really cool as well is about the alternate ending to this. Do you know much about the alternate ending that was supposed to be happening? It was written and then part filmed.
Was the alternate ending?
Boring.
No, the alternate ending's really fucking cool, actually.
Okay, what was the alternate ending?
So there's two versions. So the double suicide, Peter was actually supposed to shoot himself in the head. Fran gets up to the helicopter, and in reference to the zombie, well, in fact, not reference to, she sort of sees the chaos that's ensuing and everything that's going out, and she kind of just jumps up into the helicopter blade, killing herself. So they both die. So that's was one thing. They then use that practical effect on the helicopter death that we saw earlier on when Roger was fueling up the helicopter. Another version of it was that sorry, it's the same version anyway. They say about leaving and there isn't much fuel. They kill themselves, and then as the credits are rolling, all the zombies are just like coming up on top of the roof, and then eventually the helicopter just cuts out dead, letting you know that either way, whether they'd have gone off in the helicopter or not, they would have crashed and died because it didn't have enough fuel to take them very far, which was also very bleak. So Romero had written very bleak endings for this, very similar to Night of the Living Dead, where everybody dies. That was initially how it was going to play out. And I think it was more Argento's suggestion that, in fact, I know full well that it was Argento who
liven it up a bit.
He was like, we've just had Star Wars released. It's a very happy ending. We need a Star Wars ending. And that's why they decided to have them fly off into the sunset at the end. But yeah, they were both supposed to die. Peter was supposed to kill himself, and Fran was supposed to decapitate herself with the helicopter blades.
This is the most boringest episode ever. You guys,
dude, this movie's fucking awesome. Leave it alone.
Let's take a quick break. Video Tasties is the ultimate YouTube channel for movie fans. Whether action movies are your thing or you like a romantic comedy, Video Tasties has you covered. With regular live watch-along parties, top 10 countdowns and reviews, and so much more. Not to mention, Video Tasties also showcases his very extensive VHS collection for you all to enjoy. This is an account that must not be missed and is an absolute must for any movie fans. Go check him out at yourunpodcast.com. So make sure you check out Video Tasties and all the other members of the You Run Podcast Network at yourunpodcast.com. 3-word review. We've got our first 3-word review from Facebook.
Oh, nice. Our first ever.
This comes from Hannah. First ever. This comes from Hannah, and she says, load of crap. And they're a horror reviewer.
Oh, well, that weren't worth the fucking build-up, was it?
Over on X, Z1Pod, Romero versus Consumerism, and their Zomromcom podcast. Wolfman's Got Nards, Barry, who's been our only guest this year. Remake is better.
Ooh.
Reboot Debut. Mall is Home, and they're a reboot podcast. AMP FX Studios, Zombie Shopping Spree, and they're a makeup special effects artists. Over on Instagram, IK the Horror Nerd, Terrifyingly Brilliant Masterpiece, and they're a video creator. The Graveyard Club Pod, Really Fucking Good, and they're a horror podcast. Horror Drac, Blue Zombie Slap, and they're a horror account. 80s Horror Style, Brains Half Price, and they're an AI artist. And finally, Super Stew 83, Not My Bag, and they're a film and horror geek. What was your favourite this week?
Brains Half Price. I like that. That's pretty cool. Very
Okay,
clever
cool.
pun. And I'm not a pun guy. You know that.
No, I do know that. Let's do some TikTok talks. We have 3. Do you want to go with Jesse, horror movies and shit, or a former guest on the show, a Swedish horror nerd?
Let's have a Swedish horror nerd first, please.
Okay, here we go.
Zombie movies aren't my vibe. I can like the concept to a certain degree, but I have never personally gelled a lot with zombie movies. They just don't do it for me. There are some good stories. Last of Us is one of my personal favorites of the story because it takes it in such a new direction and it adds such new drama. With this movie, it is one of the OGs in a lot of ways. It came out 10 years after the first one. I like it for what it is. I like parts of it really good. One of my favorite scenes is when they're looting one of the stores in the mall and they take out a bunch of cash. And one of them looks at them and says, "You never know." I really like that scene. That's my favorite scene because it's like, okay, we're in the apocalypse. Money is completely useless at the moment and there's no need for them. But you never know. You never know, you might need them. The Tom Savini effects in this movie are amazing. I always love Tom Savini. Would I say it's his best work? No. I personally prefer his slasher work in the 80s a lot more than what he did here. I would say overall, both Romero and Savini did a lot of better job afterwards, after this movie. But I still find it a good movie. It has a charm and it has an identity to it. And that's what I like with both 70s and 80s horror is they have such a strong identity to it. Do I love this movie? Do I gel with this movie? Not particularly. It has a lot of good scenes that stick with you, but it has that character, it has that identity that all 70s and 80s horror movies have, that I think personally a lot of modern horror movies lack. Like, I prefer modern zombie stories over this one. Like Last of Us, the story-wise, Last of Us beats this movie, I think. But this has a character and an identity to it that Last of Us lack in a way. And a lot of that is how it's shot, how it's this very indie feel, Tom Savini's effects. Like it's the head scene when the head gets blown off. That's literally Tom Savini with a shotgun. Like it's amazing. They blew up a fake head with a shotgun. Glorious.
That's really cool as well. They did do that with a shotgun because they originally tried to do it with air pressure.
Yeah.
But as they pumped the air in, it kind of ballooned too much. So Savini just literally got a shotgun and shot it.
That's cool. And that's Ellis. That's a Swedish horror nerd on TikTok. Also on Instagram. Really cool account. Former guest. Come on and done Sleepy Hollow with us.
That was a great episode.
Let's go with horror movies and shit.
Be a little bit of a hot take. However, I'm going to say it anyway. Not a fan of slow zombies. Therefore, I've never actually seen Dawn of the Dead. I will say I'm not discounting its contributions to cinema because I know it's a classic. However, I personally prefer fast zombies because there is nothing scary about a shambling mess coming after you when you can just walk a little faster and stay away from it.
Tell that to Michael Myers.
I agree completely. Fast zombies are scarier. Train to Busan zombies are scary. Train to Busan. Pick a movie you'd rather be stuck in. This movie or Train to Busan.
Oh yeah, don't get me wrong. They are a scarier zombie, but it depends what you're like. For me, when I watch a zombie movie, like I like the fact that these are manageable in a way until they're a swarm. Similar with The Walking Dead, it's the same kind of thing. On their own, individually, they're manageable zombies, but as soon as you get a big mass of them that are overwhelming, like a rolling army of them, they're undefeatable. So it depends how you perceive what you want from a zombie movie. I personally prefer the slower zombies because I think it opens the doors a lot more to development of the story and the characters and how they're going to deal with this and how they can easily deal with this up until the point that they no longer can. And it also puts me in a position where I feel like I can deal with it myself. I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that. I can do this. I can do that. I could survive what you're doing right now until the ultimate point where you can't. Whereas with a fast zombie, it is as soon as they're there, you're fucked.
Yeah.
Game over.
That's Horror Movies and Shit. They're a horror movie and shit podcast. That's kind of their thing. They're really
shit
cool.
Podcast or horror movie and shit podcast?
Horror movies and shit. They're not horror movies and a shit podcast. They're a good podcast. And finally, we got Jesse Horror.
Probably in the minority on this one, but this is the series that I personally prefer the remakes on. The originals, for me, they're not good for me. I get, at the time, that's what they had, that's what they could do, that's what they were capable of, and it was great, but I've had other things, and I can't go back. So, for me, it's more of a snooze fest, but it's just because I'm more used to realistic, sort of, I guess, is what I'm thinking. I don't know. Honestly, I don't really care for that genre or that series anyways. Even the remakes aren't that good in my opinion, but I do like zombies. That series isn't for me, and that's where I'm at with it. So, yeah.
Cheers, Jesse. That whole video, all I wanted to do was put his beard in a plait. I would like you to send me a photo of you plait your beard. That looked awesome.
He has a very impressive beard. He's a really cool horror account as well. So on TikTok, he does lots of like deep dive videos into his thoughts on horror movies. Really, really cool. I think what Jesse was trying to get across there is like his take on this movie is that
boring.
Dude, leave it alone, man. Leave it alone, seriously.
Well, how about I hit another tune and we'll do this instead?
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's that time of the week. Time for Mark to recommend an account. Yeah! Oh, you got the moves this week.
I'm feeling it. I've just found a burst of energy out of nowhere. So this week's recommended account is Halloween_Fanatic1. Halloween_Fanatic1. Great account. Says it all in the title. These are a dedicated Halloween fan account. They share reels, segments from movies, as well as some of their collections of memorabilia that they've got. This dude, we haven't met him yet because I've only recently discovered him and started talking to him recently, but he was at For Love of Horror this year. He went and met, obviously, cast and characters from the Halloween movies, got videos of them signing some of his merch and stuff on his profile. If we go again this year, which we no doubtly will, I'll definitely hook up and meet him for a beer and have a catch up with him in real life. But his account's great. Being a Halloween fan as I am, I love seeing stuff pop up on my newsfeed on Halloween content all the time. So if, like me, you love Halloween stuff, go and check him out. Really cool guy. Great collection of stuff. And again, showcases some fantastic Halloween segments on his reels and stuff like that. So yeah, it's Halloween_Fanatic1. Check him out. Give him a like. Give him a follow. And as always, let him know the You Run podcast sent you there.
That's cool. Yeah, I follow lots of Halloween accounts, even though I'm not a big Halloween fan. One thing Halloween has got over a lot of movies is the amount of bump that comes with it, the amount of merchandise, the amount of collectibles. Like Halloween is the leading force
Yeah.
in, how can I put it? The leading force in horror tat. Halloween has fucking the monopoly on, like, you can buy anything with Michael Myers on it. I saw the other day, and this is not a lie, I saw someone advertising a Michael Myers dildo.
Wow. I mean, I collect
Yeah.
Halloween merch, but that's not one that I would personally have on display in my collection.
That is your Christmas gift this year.
If it comes and I don't have to pay for it, I will happily display it publicly. But
it will come. It will come. Definitely come. Before we get into facts, I put a poll out this week, and it said Dawn of the Dead 1978, and then I gave some options. So the options were best zombie movie ever, Yawn of the Dead, remake is better, or dated terribly. Best zombie movie ever got 33% of the votes. Yawn of the Dead got 17% of the votes. Remake is better got 42% of the votes, and terribly dated got 8% of the votes. Where do you sit on this versus remake?
I love the remake.
Is better.
You think the remake's better?
I like the it's faster paced, it's more cohesive, it's a better movie for me.
Yeah,
not necessarily
I love
a better
the remake
movie overall, but
yeah, no, I love the remake. I think it's great. I really like what Zack Snyder did with James Gunn's script for that movie. Everyone disses on Zack Snyder all the time, but that's a heavy script written by James Gunn, which shines through massively throughout in that movie. I think it's very good. I was massively disappointed it didn't get a sequel to that movie. I love the opening scene where you first see the outbreak with the ambulance flying down the street and knocking him over. And then it builds. But the thing that disappoints me the most about that movie that I can never get over is the whole zombie baby gangster shootout. Every time it happens, every time I see it, I roll my eyes.
The equivalent. It's the equivalent of the biker gang and the pie face in this.
It is. It's exactly the same thing. It's difficult, really, because I do love the remake, but I also love the original. But if I had to stack them up against each other, I would constantly find myself back and forth with which one was better, depending on the mood of the day.
Okay.
I couldn't outright turn around to you and say I think the remake is better, because I don't necessarily believe that. But there would be days of the week where I'd prefer to watch the remake over the original. But again, it would just depend on what flavor of ice cream I was wanting that day.
Okay. Let's do some facts. So, extras who appeared in this movie got paid $1, a donut, and a Dawn of the Dead T-shirt.
They are incredibly hard to buy these days. I know a few people who have them, which is fucking awesome. I don't think they go for a lot of money when people do put them up on eBay, because there were so many extras within this film. So there is a vast amount of these T-shirts kicking about. But to come by one is such an incredible fucking piece of memorabilia to have.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of this movie. If I saw one and it was available and it wasn't a lot of money, I would buy one. Let's talk about Blue Zombies. So Tom Savini chose, and he chose grey because he thought it would be reminiscent of Night of the Living Dead, to have that grey, almost black and white tone to them. He didn't realise that when they put it under studio lights, the grey he used would sometimes appear green, other times appear blue, and he's openly said that it was a huge mistake because he didn't realise until they were in editing how blue it was, and he wished he hadn't done it.
And again, this is a learning curve for Savini at this point. He's still starting out, and you can see that in this movie. But that is a big, massive oversight on his part, and majorly compromises the overall aesthetic of the zombies in this film.
Yeah, you know the bit at the beginning where they've got like all the locals out just shooting zombies, having really good time. We spoke about it earlier. They put out an open call to local people, and they had hunters, like loads of local hunters, turn up with their own weapons. And a lot of the shots where you see them discharging weapons is them actually discharging live rounds and drinking beer and having a barbecue.
Wow.
That's so cool.
That's just such a cool day out, isn't it?
Yeah, what did you do today? I went and shot at some zombies, had a barbecue, drunk some beer. When they do, so we see someone get their disemboweled and everything's pulled out everywhere. Tom Savini used real cow intestines because he lived near a slaughter. It was near a slaughterhouse. He's like, well, instead of trying to fake it, we'll just get some real ones. And he basically put real intestines and then encased them on a person with prosthetics for them to pull it apart, which I thought was cool and gross all at the same time.
Yeah, animal activists would be all over that now.
Oh, could you imagine? So Christine Forrest, who's George Romero's wife, she played the assistant in the studio next to George A. Romero in that cameo. She also plays the zombie who looks a little bit like an elf, got pointy ears later in the movie. So she's actually in this twice as cameos.
Yeah, again, with the
George
costume department, there's a heavy costume influx at certain scenes in the mall where you get like a nun zombie, you get like an Indian zombie, you get like a nurse zombie. Yeah. Again, we've already mentioned it. You get the whole Hare Krishna zombie. It's a bit overkill, especially considering you would never get this amount of collective distinguishable costumes within one shopping center, I'm sure.
So you spotted George A. Romero's first cameo. Did you spot his second one?
No, I didn't.
So George A. Romero is one of the bikers who come and raid the facility. He's known as Old Nick is the character name, and he's the biker that's dressed as Santa Claus.
Oh, that's awesome. I'll definitely have to, well, I will certainly go back and watch this movie again, but I'll definitely look out for that.
The two zombie children, they are Melissa Savini, Dunlap, and Mike Savini, who are the real-life niece and nephew of Tom Savini. And they're the only zombies that George A. Romero would allow them to move and break his trademark zombie shuffle. And that's because they couldn't get them to move slowly. And George A. Romero went, look, it's fine. That'll do. Apparently, there was lots of takes where they're like, could you move a bit slower, please? Could you move a bit slower, please? And in the end, Romero went, we'll just let them run. But fuck it. Fuck the narrative that I've built for this genre. Let them run.
Yeah, I mean, we have kids, man. Imagine if you dressed up your kids in zombie makeup and said, right, now you have to walk really slowly. They're just going to be like, no, fuck it. Ah!
The MPAA threatened to put an X rating on this. And they basically told George A. Romero he needed to make almost 35 minutes of cuts. And he didn't want that because at the time, an X rating meant hardcore pornography. Like if you got an X rating, it was hardcore porn. It was actually Dario Argento who went to the MPAA and sat down with them, and he made an agreement with them. They just wouldn't rate it at all. And when they'd done the advertising for this, they made a big point of saying that there is no explicit sex in this movie. And it's purely because of the violent nature, and they would restrict it to anyone under the age of 17 couldn't see this movie.
Yeah, and they wouldn't put this in newspapers and stuff like that. Back in the day when you saw posters for movies, they were usually in newspaper articles, but newspapers wouldn't print posters for upcoming movies without a certified rating by the MPA. So this never got publicized in magazines and newspaper articles for that reason.
No, and again, that's like, it's testament to how important it was that it done so well, despite all of that, that it still picked up this huge following and this huge status. And like I said earlier, this is in so many top 10 lists of greatest horror movies of all time.
Yeah. Have you got a biker gang fact for me, or am I going to have to use it for you?
Oh, you could do a biker gang. That's all I got for facts. What biker gang fact have you got?
So the biker gang used in this movie is actually a proper biker gang. These aren't actors. This is a true gang. And I thought you would have had it for facts, which is why I didn't research the name of the gang they used. But a lot of them have Nazi swastikas and stuff on their outfits if you look closely. And they are a true 70s down and dirty gangster biker gang that they used in this production.
Oh, wow, that's cool. And that's the first time you've brought a fact for a while. That's even cooler.
I thought you would have had it. I thought that would have been one of the most ones you went for, but it was. I thought I needed to share it anyway. So if you do watch this again recently, anybody who's listening, pay attention to the biker gang's outfits. A lot of them do have swastikas and stuff on their jackets.
Very inappropriate, but also kind of cool for this movie.
Yes.
We've had a bit of a break from games. We've not played a game for a while, and that was so I could have a time to think and come up with some new ideas. After a couple of weeks of thinking, I have nothing new, so I'm going to recycle an old game and call it something different. We're going to play. We're going to play This Is No Brainer. It's kind of not really that. It's kind of horror, not horror, but zombie, not zombie. So it's not a full quiz. I'm going to give you some quotes from movies, and you're going to tell me if it's a zombie movie or not a zombie movie. And you can have an extra point if you tell me what movie it's from. So
all right, awesome.
We'll start with the first one. Shoot it, man. Shoot it in the head.
That is Zombie.
It is. Any idea what movie?
That's such a generic line from any zombie movie. My immediate mind went to Shaun of the Dead, but I don't think they have guns in there. So I don't know. Do they do have the gun over the bar? I think it's Shaun of the Dead.
It's not. It's Dawn of the Dead. It's the movie we're talking about right now. Number 2. This city is headed to a disaster of biblical proportions.
Zombie.
It's not a zombie movie. That is from Ghostbusters.
I should have known that as well. Of course, it's Ghostbusters.
Hey, arsehole. Felt good for me to get your kid to you again, right?
That's got to be Zombie. Oh, yeah. That's Train to Busan.
It is Train to Busan. Number 4. What do you cunts like a drink?
Oh, Shaun of the Dead. Zombie.
It's Shaun of the Dead. The things you own end up owning you.
Not Zombie. I don't know what it is, but I know the quote.
You know it straight away as soon as it's Fight Club.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm not a big Fight Club guy.
Really?
Yeah, I'm not a big Fincher guy, I'll be honest with you. There's things I like, there's things I don't.
Okay. Number 6. You're cuter than I thought. I can see why she likes you.
Is that Zombieland 3?
That would be impressive because that's not even been made yet.
I mean, Zombieland 2. Sorry.
No, it's not. That is actually not a zombie movie. That is from The Matrix.
Ah, you use my best stuff against me. How dare you?
Roundups, I'm going to go first because mine's not going to be quite as glowing as Mark's. And I understand this movie does need some love to end the episode. I fully appreciate what this movie done for horror and what it done for the zombie subgenre. Romero is a fabulous director and he is the father of zombie movies. But for me, this movie is not it. It's not the one. It's not a good example of his work. And for me, it's not a good zombie movie. It's riddled with plot holes, which have now all been explained to me. So that point I had is completely redundant. The acting's not great. Outside of Peter, I think everyone's fairly wooden and it's quite unemotional. I don't find myself connecting with anyone and no one really jumps out. They had opportunities here to make things feel more emotional and more connected, like with the pregnancy, like have her being attacked by a zombie. We know she's pregnant, like have it clawing at her belly. Like that would have made me like, oh my God, this is awful. And it just felt like squandered opportunities that instead of going down those paths, they went to focus on the zombies themselves and the practical effects work. The zombies are blue, like they are luminescent blue. The effects don't hold up for me. If I'm going to be really harsh, I don't think they stack up against other movies of the same time, like Demons or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They're not as good as those either. The focus on the zombie fight scenes and like the encounters with big hordes of zombies are very repetitive, and they'll do 3 or 4 kills, then 3 or 4 more, then a couple more, then they'll throw an extra one in for good measure. And I'm kind of like, I don't need that. And like even the addition of the biker gang, that didn't change the pace apart from the bit where you go, shit, there's a biker gang. And then when the biker gang get in there, it goes back to that same monotonous boom, boom, boom pace. The underlying message of consumerism is handled incredibly heavy-handed, like so heavy-handed. I don't think the cinematography or the direction in this is great. A lot of the scenes when you're looking at outside shots look like it's almost it reminded me of Knight Rider, the way a lot of these outside shots were done. And a lot of the inside shots reminded me very much of Dynasty. I think it's not a bad movie, but for me, it's a subpar horror movie and it's a subpar zombie movie because I've seen so much more that resonate with me better. This movie is the hardest movie I've had to endure on the show. It took me 7 attempts to actually get through this movie. And that for me, I know it's something that's not for me. I don't know anyone who enjoys this. And I understand there are people who love this type of zombie movie. There are people who love this 70s, very visceral, early stage, trashy effects. And I just don't. I think it's criminally overrated from a point of nostalgia for a lot of fans. It's not Romero's best work. It doesn't hold a candle to things around the same time, in my opinion. I get it. I get what it is. It's just simply not for me. And I score based on enjoyment. It's a 1.5 out of 5.
That's a fair enough score. I mean, like you said, this horror is subjective. Things that work for you don't work for everybody else. It would be a wild and miserable place if we all enjoyed the same thing. So you have no shame in being the guy to call out George Romero's Dawn of the Dead, even though it's an absolutely wild statement to make.
You've got nothing to worry about. You called out one of the greatest horror directors for arguably his greatest movie. You're fine. You get no background.
Yeah, good luck with that one
whatsoever.
No, the thing is like I'm not going to stand here and tell you that this is the greatest movie ever made, because it's not. I don't think George A. Romero is the best screenwriter in the planet, because I don't think he is. I think where he falters a lot of the time is with his writing and his screenwriting abilities. You made some comments about the direction and the cinematography. Personally, I found the direction and cinematography really inspiring. I thought some of the shots and stuff and the way that he framed some of the exterior shots that you disliked, I thought they were really cool. He's a very indie director and works well with that kind of lane, and I think he showcases that very well here. I don't like the biker gang stuff at the end. I feel like it's very pivotal to the movie, but could have been handled in a much better way. But again, I love the amateur work that's on display here. I love being able to sit here and watch Savini's start out of his effects work and see those glimmers of what's to come from him in the future. I really like the characters. I love the focus on the dynamic between them and the way that this all unfolds and how they handle the situations between themselves as they're confined to this location, and the despair that they go through having to suffer each other's company for such long periods of time. I also think it's a really clever way that they navigate the location that they're in and how they fortify it and the way that unfolds throughout the film. That's the most intriguing element to me within this movie. I find it really difficult to sit back and completely glorify this movie as many people do, because the things that most people glorify are not necessarily the things that I enjoy. The things that I enjoy from this movie is the slower pacing, is the developments of the characters, And it's not the zombie stuff that stands out to me as being the reason why I rewatch this movie as much as I do. And from a nostalgia standpoint, I just want to make this very clear that I'm not one of those people who came into this movie early on in my life. I only watched this for the first time in my life 6 months ago.
We had this conversation on chat because we messaged on this earlier today. Where I was like, "This is a fucking slog. Anyone who likes this is just pure nostalgia." And you're like, "Hey, fuck you, man! I only watched this 6 months ago. I've got no nostalgia." I was like, "Damn it!"
Yeah. That's it. I didn't. I watched Night of the Living Dead. I used to watch that all the time as I was younger. I reviewed that on my page. Yeah, I love that movie too, unconditionally, and it's a much better movie than this is. But I reviewed that on my page. I was like, do you know what? I haven't actually seen Dawn of the Dead. I've seen Night of the Living Dead. I've seen Day of the Dead. I've seen Diary of the Dead. I've seen Land of the Dead. I've seen all this other stuff, but I've never actually watched Dawn of the Dead. I'm going to sit down and watch it. And I fucking loved every minute of it. Barring the biker stuff at the end. But again, it's what you want to take from a movie, which is what's going to make and break it for you. And I feel like there's a lot of stuff in this film that will quite easily sway you one or two ways. For me, again, I like the slower pace. I like the slower pace zombies. I like the way that it all develops and progresses throughout and continuously gets that. As you feel like they've accomplished something, something else comes in their way. And it plays out very similar to The Walking Dead does. And you have to know that this is the blueprint for the structure of everything that will come after it in terms of wider scope zombie stuff in the genre. So it's not perfect, and I'm not going to sit here and tell you that it is, but it's... And I really struggle to rank these based on how much varied knowledge that I have on all three different cuts. If I was to rate the Cannes cut, I would probably give that a 4 out of 5 because I feel like it's a very pivotal version to watch in terms of the character development. If that's what you love, then go and watch that version. If you want the generic theatrical cut, which is what most people will get if they buy this on physical media, that's Romero's preferred version. I think the scoring for that is very lackluster, and there's a lot of stuff missing which amplifies the justification of all the other slogs that come with it. That again is probably a 4 out of 5 for me still. However, the Argento cut is the one that I will probably revisit the most going forward because I have all those gaps. I have all that knowledge. I don't need to watch a 3-hour version of this movie because I know that and I can fill in those blanks as I go along with the condensed version that Argento has given us. And it has an incredible score by Goblin to accommodate it. So the Argento score for me, which is what I'm going to base this on, because that's the version you watch for this review, I'm going to give that a 4.5 out of 5. I think that's the pinnacle version of this movie for rewatches, but I don't feel like you could justify your experience of Dawn of the Dead without having experienced at least the theatrical version before heading into the Argento version, because Argento misses a lot of the plot points, which is where you've got plot holes from, and you miss a lot of stuff. You also miss a cool helicopter decapitation early on. So as great as the Argento cut is, and which is one that I'll probably most likely throw on in the future if I just want to sit back and watch this movie, the only reason I'll do that is because I know all the stuff that is missing, and I can piece those together as I'm going along and be like, oh yeah, that's where they have that really cool dialogue scene. I don't need to sit and watch that again for 15 minutes knowing that Argento version does it in 2.
It's one of those things that like I may visit the theatrical cut of this at some point because a lot of my problems in this are surrounding plot holes and lack of character development. And maybe I just watched the wrong cut. It could be as simple as that. I might watch the other. I'll make an effort to watch the other cut and in a couple of episodes tell you how I feel about that. We'll drop it in early.
I think you should. I mean, if you're going to do it and you're going to do it seeking that character development and that world building element of the story, then you should probably go for the Cannes version because that is just a 3-hour slog of. But the thing is, you've watched this now, so you can know when you could sit there scrolling your phone and know when to tune in and out, which would make it less painful. Less of a slog for you because you can have it on in the background and know the key moments where things are expanded upon that you can tune into and be like, oh, this is where they have that really cool 10-minute dialogue segment about how they're going to fortify the building. you can watch that and
Yeah.
then go back to your phone or carry on cooking your tea and then tune back in 10 minutes later, knowing that you have all the information to piece it together. So, I mean, again, like I say, I think the Argento version is the definitive version to watch had you seen everything else that's come before it. So it's a 4.5 out of overall across the board for me.
Okay. Now, because all of the listeners made me watch this movie that was dire for me, I've taken all the power away from you and I've pulled forward a host pick. So Mark had a host pick earlier this year where he picked Sharknado 4. And now I've picked an episode. It's my turn to pick. So we know what we're doing next week. Have a wonderful week. And until next time, don't forget to smash that like button, smash that subscribe button, and follow me on Livid.
Cheers, guys. See you next week.
See you later.
Hey everyone, the You Run Podcast. It's the You Run Podcast.
You want to die tonight?
Scott, I think you know who the fuck this is that's talking.
Cancel Mark. I was terribly offended.
Because after all, this is not our show, this is your show.